What is an operating agreement? I'm attorney Danya Shakfeh, and I'm an attorney at Motiva Business Law in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I'm going to answer that question for you. So what is an operating agreement? The operating agreement is the governing document for the LLCs, also known as a limited liability company. So it's similar to a shareholder agreement that we have for corporations, but instead the operating agreement is that same type of document for the LLCs. Now, the owners of the LLCs are not called shareholders, they're not called partners, but they're called members. And so the purpose of the operating agreement is to outline the rights and duties of the members. And so what are those rights and duties? Well, it really could be anything, but typically it's going to include how many members need to approve certain types of decisions for the LLC. For example, if you want to add a new member, or if you want to buy or sell the company, those would all be in there. And then also if you want to include terms about if there's a lawsuit and the kinds of decisions that need to be made, and at what threshold. If it's a claim, for example, of more than $10,000, you want to include all of the members or the majority of the members, and so on. Also, other terms include what happens if there is a dispute and one of the members want to be bought out, and then what happens if a member dies or becomes disabled. Also, other terms included would be profit and loss splits. One of the nice things about the LLCs is that you have a lot of flexibility in how the members operate and how to split the profits and losses. Unlike a corporation, you can actually dictate that the profit and losses are split in different percentages than the actual percentage of the ownership of the LLC. So for example, if you have 3 members and they each own the LLC equally, but one of the members could actually be paid half of the profits instead of the third, even though they own a third of the LLC. Which leads to my next point. What are some common mistakes that I see in the operating agreements? First and foremost, I see people not really utilizing the full potential of the LLC and the operating agreements, meaning that they just use a template and don't really realize that there's so much creativity that you could do with an LLC. There's so many ways to run the company, and just by finding a template online or trying to write it yourself, you miss out on the opportunity to have that flexibility with your business partners. And then another common mistake I see is that the tax ramifications are not properly considered. So some people automatically opt for an S Corp when maybe that might not be necessary, because yes, you can be an LLC and an S Corp at the same time. Otherwise, you're taxed as a partnership. But you know, a lot of times the language in the templates, especially the older ones, are outdated, or they're not accurate, or they don't really reflect what the partners or the LLC owners and members are trying to do. Another common mistake is that people don't even use the right kind of template. I've seen people try to use something called like an equity agreement or a partnership agreement, which are not appropriate for an LLC. You really need to use an operating agreement. And then lastly, the operating agreement should outline if your LLC is manager managed or member managed. So what's the difference between a manager managed and a member managed LLC? The manager managed LLC is usually for if you have someone who is running the business and the members are silent investors. And then the member managed LLCs are typically if the LLCs are more like a partnership style where all members are active in the day-to-day operations of the LLC. And so that's another purpose of the operating agreement. If you do not specify if your LLC is a manager managed or a member managed LLC, then here in the state of Illinois, the default is that your LLC is going to be member managed. If you have any questions about operating agreements, or if you need an operating agreement for your LLC, call today at 630-517-5529 or contact us in the information below.